now, which was, oh look who it is. Gary, we're talking about media and cookies. You got a take?
A cookieless world?
Yeah. The sort of third-party cookie ecosystem, because in the last 6 years that we've been working together, we have been saying the cookie is dying, the cookie is dead, the cookie is now on its final last nail in coffin.
So like in mobile, it just became chaos. And then also cross-device, it became chaos.
Okay, amazing. Hi there, I'm Avery. I'm the CMO of VaynerMedia, and here I am today with Jon Morgenstern, who is the EVP of all things investment, head of all things math in your own words.
Yes.
JMO, tell us a little bit about what you do here.
Yeah, I mean, I've been at Vayner almost 9 years. And so I started off fully on like the media buying side with a lot of Vayner OGs like Jason Loomis, who now runs media at Saga Group. And still do that. I'm still sitting in the media department as part of this kind of four-headed beast headed by John Tarana, JT, our chief media officer, myself on like the media buying investment front, Haley Riggle, who's all things media planning, what we call modern comms planning or MCP, and Ben Allison, who is our operational wizard. So I'm ostensibly the media buying lead, all things technical for Vayner, the agency. Math guy has come about because I moonlight as Gary, our CEO's personal media buyer, because it's high touch. We want to do like really interesting, we're our own client. So like it's our own sandbox and it's coming from Gary directly. So I like want to handle it personally. And that's evolved into Gary and other folks at Vayner kind of just like me becoming the go-to for just like anything involving Excel or numbers or.
That's why I hit you up.
Exactly.
Okay, amazing. And JMO, what are you seeing today in media trends? I feel like the last year we've seen a bunch of things get shaken up in the era of TikTokification of everything.
Yes. I mean, the paid social world is ablaze for many reasons. Creator economy, shops, affiliate, privacy tracking, elections, like there's a whole ocean.
Let's dig into all of these things, but let's start off with affiliates. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. TikTok Shop has obviously been this like juggernaut force that now loads and loads of brands, what we call like the long tail or dupe brands, as they're sometimes called.
TikTok brands?
Yeah, TikTok brands have flooded in. And what's cool, one of the fun things about TikTok Shop is you can see the sale counts of all the products. You can see exactly how much commerce is happening or not. And it's enormous. There's these like Amazon 3P like brands that are selling tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of SKUs, not to mention revenues. And so now it's like big brands, do they come on? It, like for their price points, is it there? Because a lot of the stuff is just super, super inexpensive on what's on there right now. And then creator affiliates where just like Amazon Associates, you, the shop owner, can put a commission that you'll offer to folks who help sell any of your products through your shop, anywhere from 1% to, I think, 80% maybe, like a really, really high commission.
Juicy.
And obviously as you play with those levers, you get more or less. So weaponizing creators, blogs, publishers to help you sell stuff through your shop, just like Amazon, but it's this like TikTokified, self-contained thing with virality. We'll see if Amazon Inspire can pull that off. But what we find interesting about it, in part, is that Meta, we're always looking at Meta and TikTok and the copycat war. Meta had a Instagram affiliate, Instagram associates type play a few years back.
It was not performing like TikTok shops.
And they killed it. And obviously they have Instagram shop and checkout and all of that. But now that Meta, they're the kings of copycatting. Now that they've seen that TikTok's proven the model, I think we're going to see a lot of that fast follow in by Meta. And so as usual, TikTok is kind of like leading the way. But it's not just about us and our brands using their tools. It's about what it signifies is coming in more places. Yeah. Specifically Meta and YouTube and Snapchat, et cetera.
Okay, so you just mentioned Meta, YouTube, Snapchat. Those are just a smattering of the publisher partners, platform partners that Vayner works with. How much media are we spending, JMO? Yeah. Are we in the 7s, the 8s, the 9 figs? Per year?
We last year, for the first time, notched 10 figs. So we ran just over $1 billion in managed media. With like us direct oversight, so hands on keys, all the actual buying in terms of line of sight where we're involved.
With a B.
Yeah, with a B, billion with a B, where Meta and Google, unsurprisingly, are the top two. The two of them together are shy of half, probably like 45% or so combined. But that's like direct under our management in terms of things we help plan. So we'll often be like the biddable digital buying agency of record, but we might be involved with planning everything, working alongside another agency in terms of planned media, it was closer to like 1.5 billion, which is pretty cool.
It's amazing. And Jon, talk to us a little bit about how Vayner's media practice has evolved in the nearly 10 years that you've been here. It started, I remember when I joined, we were doing a lot of paid social. I joined coming from Google. We started rounding that out. I believe Google has now taken number one spot.
Yeah.
Talk about that evolution.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, for a while, it's funny, we've gone through this evolution of like, do you know Google search? Like that's the thing. It's been pretty clear what we've needed to evolve into next. Social and paid socials at our core, that was first.
We kicked off our Amazon buying, remember?
Yeah, exactly.
You and I.
And then very clearly it was like social and search, social and YouTube were the clear kindred spirits. So Google became quite obviously the next play. But it's a combination of like upskilling your own teams, bring on the right hires from the Googles or the competitive agencies with the
I want to double tap on that hire bit because we brought on someone this week actually.
Big news. Mike Feldman. Feldy, as we're already calling him, he ran retail media for Dentsu, like a very, very big remit, big gig over there. And we're fortunate to have him here now running retail media for us, working alongside Molly Anderson and the other awesome retail media crew members who built it to 9 figures of what it is today. And Mike was just announced in Ad Age.
Yep, this week.
And he's already been adding like ridiculous amounts of value early in.
So excited he's with us. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. You were saying on the evolution game.
Yeah. So, I mean, my first year at Vayner, 2015, we did just over, I think, 50 million in total managed media. Like 90% was Facebook. So, I mean, that's been
Might have
cool.
been 99.
Right. That's been cool to see like that growth till now. But it's just become, we've grown up. Like social biddable DNA will always be our core, but like our fastest growing channel last year was TV.
But
Linear
why was
and
that?
CTV.
Why was that, JMO?
Linear and CTV.
Why has that shifted sort of up funnel?
Yeah, I mean, many reasons. One being us kind of laddering up where you need economies of scale to play that game. And so we grew on the democratized biddable channels, and now we have enough access, scale, clients to play that game better. But even more so, I would say, is what we talk about TikTokification and short form video a lot. We also refer to like the Facebook ads managerification of all things, where we fully expected the puck to move more towards the way we know buying, Facebook ads, Google ads, everything will be bought that way. Self-serve, live ad auction, what you grew up into, Google land, with linear and video really being the last bastion of that, and to an extent retail media with like shopper
we've
marketing.
seen publisher though, like that's gotten hit hard. I would argue that practitioner level DNA is the reason that we are now a global media agency of record for all the things across a number of different partners.
Totally.
Because that DNA that's gone from lower funnel to everything. Everything is moved to biddable. I remember we were talking about that in 2018 of like, we believe in a biddable everything, and it's taken some time, but that's where things are heading.
Yes, we underestimated how much the TV industrial complex, how much time it would take.
Yes.
One, because there's a lot of pull by them until they're ready. Like there's a reason why streaming wasn't ad-supported streaming until now. It was like the dam kind of broke and it became unavoidable. So it's often not like, it's like, why does the upfront still exist? Because that's a much more bankable, like why does Google search still exist when chat-based search people think is the future? It's like, it's innovator's dilemma sort of stuff.
It is.
But it's been fun, and now there's more jump balls than ever. Retail media jump balls, TV jump balls, and then paid social has also just become a lot more competitive. Like the broader ecosystem, like freelance buyers who are kick-ass.
Absolutely, but I also think that it's become a lot more automated. Like you grew up and you were creating all those different ad sets and ads, and now like, how's that shifted?
I mean, the value
Is it
proposition,
AI everything?
The value proposition of the media buyer has changed a lot over the years, but it's changing the most dramatically right now, where the media buyers of today, tomorrow are much more the best systems integrators. So like, you know how to not just place the pixel, but like, what does conversions API mean? How do you get it stood up? How do you integrate it with a full, it's called events match quality, a 10 out of 10 events match quality score. So it's like infusing data pipes is the new audiences, like dynamic versus like target this, that. And creative strategy, like creative strat guided media buyers is the new like biddable targeting tinkerer, because the bidding and you know, you look at like Advantage Plus shopping campaigns, like
it's all automated.
All of that old school nuance, like breakout segmentation is done. But creative's variable more than ever.
Absolutely. I feel like you've really changed your position on that personally over the last 18 months. You
got
have
on TikTok.
Exactly. You got on TikTok. You've discovered TikTok fame. Talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like we all all of us have gone through this journey with Gary, where so many of us come from the establishment, like big tech or big agencies, and have enough of the DNA that Gary has to know that there's a better way to do it, and that like he's more right than wrong. But we'd be kidding ourselves. We didn't have our own like, well, Gary, you don't know media, like you don't know the landscape. And he's like, I know business, and this is the truth. So I used to sweat a lot of like the rhetoric from the platforms, like what the brilliant basics or power fives, and that's kind of everything. And you always need to play ball with those because they are very important partners of ours, and they do their homework too. But Gary being like, he said creative is the variable this whole time. He said brand. Yes. Brand is the only moat, like direct response is a race to the bottom. Retail media is a kind of race to the bottom. Building personal brand is an incredible way to build business.
That's why we keep him around. He's more right than wrong.
And like it does aha. And it's not just like, oh, you're like, yeah, I see you're kind of right. It's like, you're like the most right. And yeah, I saw that the nature of media buying is changing. So I started putting myself out there on TikTok, not just to like do stuff like this and be a conduit of Vayner, but to learn, because it's been the past few years.
Hands on keys.
I posted about
to do
this,
it.
Recently. Like, there's more smart media buying folks building brands on TikTok that like I was like, I got to be here to like be in the game, like to represent Gary. And it keeps you fresh too, because you have people that are like, oh, you run media buying at Vayner? I'm gonna throw in the comments like my best stuff and like, did you know that? And sometimes it's like, no, I didn't. But you just got to embrace.
Sometimes it is humbling.
Totally, but you got to embrace that, and then also show that you have some sauce too. So it's fun. It's been cool.
Okay, so JMO, let's shift gears a little bit to talk about the sort of third-party cookie ecosystem, because in the last 6 years that we've been working together, we have been saying the cookie is dying, the cookie is dead, the cookie is now on its final last nail in coffin. And I feel like I'm still hearing people be like, the death of the cookie is coming. Talk to me about this.
Yeah. I mean, you being at DoubleClick for so long, like
this is really, the oldest of news to me.
Yeah. I mean, I guess turning back the clock way far to the rise of mobile, and Meta, Facebook, has been very vocal about this for a long time, that cookies have been an outdated, obsolete technology for a long time. To do a quick history lesson for folks, cookies were built for a single browser, one desktop machine, computer household. If you have two browsers, cookies think you're two different people, one cookie in each.
There was some matching and whatnot that's happened.
Of course, there's matching, but like for the sake of, and that's where a lot of value has been created.
That's how it started, yep.
But like pound for pound, without that stuff, like the way it was set up to be treated is in mobile, cookies think you're a different person in every single app that loads its own in-app browser. So like in mobile, it just became chaos. And then also cross-device, it became chaos. If you have your work laptop, your mobile phone, and your tablet, and your CTV,
no work phone if you work at Vayner.
And this is where Meta really leapfrogged cookies in general into the ID-based system of like, well, we know you logged into Facebook everywhere, we know you're you. So that gave rise to the
single
ID-based.
sign-on.
Yeah, single sign-on, ID-based, email, phone, matching, mobile device matching. And so Meta was more inoculated against this, to the point where they've already, they don't use third-party cookies at all anymore already. They use first-party. We won't even get into first-party versus third-party. The thing that really hit Meta was 14.5, and that's the app tracking ecosystem. Cookie is a web world. So when I was like, well, Meta was impacted like that.
iOS 14 was a...
Yeah, there's two worlds going on. So now Safari deprecated third-party cookie support.
Years ago,
Firefox years ago. Google announced in 2018 the privacy sandbox. We have this like long, detailed timeline of like everything that we can link to or something. Announced in 2018, saying 2 years. 2020 or 2019, they punted it. Then they punted the date again.
And let's talk about why they punted it, because Google has a unique interest in third-party cookies.
Yeah, I mean, Google, whether people like it or not, like part of this is Google's own scale and power and self-serving interest as a huge ad company. But part of it too is them like holding up stability for a lot of folks. Like they have a vested interest in pushing it out because it's ripping up a lot of the track of the early internet that just breaks a lot of stuff. Some for self-serving purposes around, they will be the replacement to it, even though
they're ripping up their own thing that they created to replace it with something better that they created.
That they have even more control over. And all people can do is have Google kind of promise. Like regulators are like, Google, you promise this won't be self-serving? But also to their credit, at least some of the delays, it does seem like where publishers being like, Google,
Agreed.
please don't do this. You're going to like
ruin my business.
Yeah, publishers are the ones that are most 3P cookie reliant.
Yes.
Because if you're just getting site traffic,
you
not
don't have
logged in
single
users,
sign-in, yeah.
then the way you get better ad revenues is obviously the more targeted, precise, the higher the ad revenue per 1,000 impressions, RPMs you can charge. You need 3P cookies bad. And so they've been the ones. It's also a reason why this is so loud right now.
Right.
Because publishers, most impacted, they are the media. Because people are like, hey, third-party cookies, like, isn't this old news? Yes. But I think it looms so large in part because publishers are the impacted ones and are publishers.
Yeah, I mean, like a real example that just happened is Vice is no longer publishing on Vice.com. I mean, I remember back to 6 years ago, they were it. They were the hotness, and they weren't able to keep up with the times. And, you know, I hate to say I'm sad, but not surprised that it's come to this for Vice.
Yeah, BuzzFeed too has lost a lot of their former shine. And then you got to give kudos to like the New York Times, where they went so hard into subscription and the app.
Agreed.
You're a lot more stable with that.
I mean, that connections game, A+.
Yes.
Anyway, an aside, although we do have a publisher in-house within VaynerX, which is called Gallery Media Group, and I think Gallery, you know, they had this site PureWow, which was, look who it is. Gary, we're talking about media and cookies. You got a take?
A cookieless world?
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
You've been ready for it. I got to give them credit because they've really evolved the way that they position themselves, right? PureWow.com selling advertorials to now their events for content strategy. They have these amazing social handles, cocktails, ball players, you name it. They've been able to keep up with the times, and if anything, GMG is just growing and going up.
Yeah, things like Headline Your Product, which is like a green screen on the TikTok short form platforms to grow sales. Really, cool stuff that's like social native.
Yeah.
And podcasts and other things, but
So anyway, you were saying, death of the cookie. Gary just seemed so annoyed and bored by that. He thinks it's old as hell.
Yes.
But why are like clients like, oh no, explain this?
Yes, I mean.
Where are we at in the timeline?
Yeah, I mean, so right now Google's finally doing it, which I think a lot of people being angsty is that it had been punted, the can had been kicked for so long that it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because in early January, the first 1% of users now are in a zero 3P cookie world on their Chrome browser, but it's still just 1% of users.
Yeah.
More so that like, oh wow, Google's actually doing it. By the end of this year,
actually going away.
It should be globally all users.
Wiped.
That's, again, third-party cookies only and just Chrome. Chrome does have majority browser share. That's part of why this is a big deal. And publishers, there's so many identifiers that are all stitched together. Third-party cookies being one that matters, but the privacy-led future we're in, all of that stuff is, I don't want to say under attack because it's pro-user in a lot of ways. And it's regulators, Apple, Google, but it's really everything. I mean, you look at the Digital Markets Act in Europe, that's March, that I think is this week, DNA, which in Europe is a huge deal where, and this one, you might, I hope, I never have anything that surprises you or that you don't already know, but this one might, where we're at Google,
unlikely,
and they were talking about how big a deal this is in Europe. It used to be that if you give, if you're in your Facebook app and give them, you log into terms and conditions, or Instagram or WhatsApp or Messenger standalone, you granted a level of commonality of like, hey, those are all owned by Meta. They can data share. Like your Instagram data and metadata is commingled together. Now, basically, the DMA is just like, no, you have to separately
approve
for every
YouTube,
platform
approve Google Maps, approve
exactly, and then if they don't, they can't talk to each other. And not only that, it's like they have to approve certain things within a Facebook. So it's not even like, hey, they opted into Facebook, that still means zero Instagram. But to my understanding, it's this part of Facebook. And a lot of this stuff with Signal is that they can commingle a lot of this stuff. So that's going to be interesting. It's kind of cool to have Europe as like a case study almost.
Absolutely, but I feel like Europe has been early to this, like GDPR stuff, that we had to redo all of our CRM lists at one point. Now this is coming in the most scrutiny of Google, the most scrutiny of big tech in general. So I didn't know that. That is an interesting thing, though. Yeah. And I think it also impacts. It also impacts how advertisers are able to target, right? Because all of those signals combine to be hyper specific and hyper relevant with targeting. So then ad effectiveness does go down in Europe.
Like, and I believe it actually only applies. They've designated like a toll booth tech echelon. So I really think this only applies to Meta, Google, Apple, and a few others.
Should we have Melissa weigh in on this?
Yeah.
We actually should. Is she up to speed on this?
No, we'll coordinate later. I'm sure she is, but that's too live.
That's too much.
So it's just those guys, and yeah, like things like search-powered audiences for YouTube. It's like people based on their Google search behavior. It'd be like, hey, hit in-market people for used cars based on their Google search in YouTube. They had a certain degree of autonomy and self-control over like, we can offer this, they're all our products. Now it's incrementally, of course, the name of the game is always whack-a-mole, where, well, does the prompt—
They're going to get the consent.
Yeah, does the prompt default opt you out and you have to opt in? Part of the nothing burger of GDPR was that it was just like, prompt user, hey, you're cool. Are you cool with this? And it was like an easy yes, and everyone did yes.
But IDFA wasn't.
IDFA wasn't. That's
That
why
was
it was
the
so
opposite.
Important. It was like this app's going to track you. Like it was kind of like, you should opt out. There's like it's only valuing them.
They led the witness to no.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus Google leads the witness to yes.
Exactly. And that matters a ton.
A ton, of course. Anyone who's written like survey-based questions before, there's such a bias in the way that the language is written.
Yeah. In a different tangent, Amazon Prime Video ads. This is so different. This has been a big deal this year too, where all of a sudden it's like they turn with the flick of a switch, humongous ad inventory, ad load increase, because it's like, hey, all of our 150 million US households with Prime that were getting ad-free Prime Video, now all of you are getting ads now. And now you can pay $2.99 to not have ads. That is a very different strategy than Netflix being like, hey, SVOD, like paid subscription, no ads users. We now have this ad tier. You're still in your, imagine if Netflix was just like, hey, every subscription user, you now have ads. Like the ad, it creates a extremely different, and when you think about it, Amazon too, it makes sense for them because they already have the ad-supported CTV ecosystem. It's a two-sided marketplace, right? So they can be like, we can take on that demand. Netflix wouldn't have enough ad demand for the supply.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was an economics major. Supply demand is by far the most relevant thing that comes up in our industry, and it comes up a lot. This is, as you can tell, near and dear to me.
It is near and dear to your heart, and you can see that. Fun fact about JMO, he actually went to the same very small liberal arts college as my dad, so we've always bonded over that, and my cousin. So JMO, let's talk about like where you think their underpriced attention exists today in media buying. You're looking at all across these channels. What are the places that you think, like everybody knows about Google and Meta, and they know about TikTok to a certain extent. What are the places that if you were launching a brand, you would put your personal dollars?
Yeah. My mind immediately goes towards organic as the paid guy, where the best media buy is a free one that is undeniable. And we are still, even though people think it's too late, even though it's not, we are still in this kind of golden age of free reach, short form video led reach, where you can have 0 followers, go on TikTok tomorrow, get 1 million views. It's now more competitive where it's harder to do that on average. And you see this, like your average views might go from 2,000 to 1,500, but you still have that 1 million view upside. So shorts, Facebook, Instagram Reels, TikTok, organic. Then
so you'd start there, and then when you see what's working, you pour gas.
Then you put in paid. So you start there, it's like training at altitude, organic, because you're competing against everyone else on earth, not just people with paid ad dollars who are brands, every single person organically, and it's free. And so if you can pass through that gauntlet, like train at altitude, there's a reason paid is called amplification. It amplifies the thing. So if something does well organically, especially on TikTok and Reels, where the algos are so meritocratic, it's like tells you have something when you get views. It's on you to make sure that it's business relevant, right? Because the ad auctions, you can say get conversions, it'll steer towards that. All the organic algos do is get relevance. So like you could repost a meme that does nothing for your business, get 1 million views. So you have to make sure it's like, this is relevant to my business in some way, and those things can be at odds. It's like, do you want virality?
It's great that George is hearing this. So George is behind the camera, he's filming us, and he actually runs Vayner socials and Vayner TikToks, and sometimes we'll have like a huge hit, or like, is that aligned to what we're doing? I think we continue. We're always playing that game, right? Everyone is.
It's all a spectrum too, because like the more salesy direct response ad-like you are, the harder it is in organic. But that's where if you can like thread the needle of like a Dollar Shave Club or Laser Great, that's still the nirvana. So organic, you see what breaks through and works. You got to make sure that, or you can DJ it, like add product energy, sales energy to it, put that into your paid. So TikTok ads, where again, you have to be a systems integrator. Like if you don't have perfect advanced matching, conversion tracking, CAPI, all that, like you're not giving it nearly, it's all direction. It's saying, get me this, and this is how good your compass is for it. So organic, bootstrapped into paid with perfect systems integration.
That's how you launch.
Yeah.
I like it. You know, another place that I think gets a lot of really good free organic reach is LinkedIn, especially for like B2B folks, especially for us. Like VaynerMedia can get 100,000 impressions on on a post on LinkedIn, which is incredible.
Yes.
Like we don't spend any money on ads.
Yeah, and it starts with your audience too. It's like,
Right.
so depending on the business, if mine was like, hey, 60 plus folks, like Facebook Reels would be my baby versus, and
Right.
all these platforms have everyone. Facebook has young people, TikTok has old people. Like this still comes up a lot.
Of course.
35 plus has been the fastest growing segment on TikTok for years.
But still, the average user is like 22,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So like that LinkedIn could be your play. Like start there, but and Gary's the king of this. Like you want to diversify and hedge your bets. Like if TikTok gets banned tomorrow, like you want to be other places, and you got to know the context of the platforms, but also like post your TikToks on Shorts and Reels with the contextual nuances. Scrape the watermark.
So
what you need to do.
Don't just take the same thing and post it on all the platforms.
That's still better than nothing. Like if you're just making for TikTok, it's still better than nothing to watermark post everywhere else.
You know, this is an interesting insight because I've done this in my own personal handles and noticed that actually the TikTok logo doesn't ding you that bad.
Exactly, and it's still like if you get 2 impressions, that's still 2 free impressions you wouldn't have otherwise gotten. Paid, of course, is a different beast.
Yep.
But yeah, organic and paid is increasing, and creative diversification is increasingly like what interests me. And then there's certain realities of like, if you're in a paid search intensive category, and like everything is a funnel. Like, hey, is your landing page needs to be at least serviceable? Are you showing up in search results? Because some people will see your ad and then search later. Like you got to cover your bases. We like
systems integration,
hygiene. Yeah.
I also think SEO is a really interesting evolving discipline because SEO, like the people who were amazing at SEO 5-10 years ago, like they were great at like link stuffing and all of that on the websites. Now, like Gen Z's favorite search engine is TikTok. I think people can be really smart about using TikTok. Same way that you use for YouTube. This is another like Garyism. He's long believed in the power of search on YouTube. YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world after Google, which is a little known fact. How do you think about that and the evolving discipline of SEO? And do we do SEO at Vayner?
Yeah, we do. It's mostly consultative. Shout out Zubin, who is like the lead of all things, like integrated commerce and everything. AI has really been like, is one of those like, it fainted in terms of like, this is going to disrupt the whole SEO world. And then Google and others were like, sure, if the content's good, but people have tried to attack SEO and like hack it for decades. And AI can certainly help, no doubt, including Google's own AI, but it's like not relevant. Like AI jargon is still not relevant.
Still junk.
But then, I mean, TikTok and Instagram both as the go-to search. Part of this is everything is just third law. Every action brings a reaction. It's like Google stuffing more and more ad load, more and more pay to play, more and more affiliate. Got to a point where, at least you're like me, any best X to buy lists from a Google search result, we can see this because we like care to look at the link structure. It's like affiliate, if it's not paid search, it's affiliate links.
Yep.
And it became, people didn't trust them, rightfully so. So you saw the rise of query, Reddit. Because you're like, okay, on Reddit I can trust it more. And now the TikToks, because it's like, it's video. It's like, I'm at the restaurant trying the thing. It's a creator you trust. And it serves up such good things. That's been an explosion. Ads now serve there. We have this great case study with Wingstop actually, where there's an alpha that TikTok is running at the moment, which is search only placements. So they started with like, hey, you can extend your TikTok ad program to be running in search, and it's like tiles, whatever. This is standalone, which is really exciting. Still limited in terms of scale, but some fascinating.
We'll bleep out the business results. Let's see if we can actually, Yudkin, do you want to be featured on your legal POV on media?
My legal POV?
Yeah, I think it's actually a good thing to bring in because I think one of our differentiators in our media world is about how we think about transparency. So our general counsel and chief operating officer is here, Mark Yudkin. Let's get his take. Yudkin, you've been long at the helm of negotiating all of the MSAs that VaynerMedia has ever embarked on and all of our media partnerships over time. How do you think our media journey has evolved in the last decade?
Ooh, good question.
We've become adults.
Most of us have become adults.
You were always an adult. You were born an adult, probably.
I know. I think early on when media was starting out, we were somewhat unsophisticated. It was like, placing an ad on Facebook and hoping we got to all the Facebook mommies playing Farmville out there.
JMO was placing those ads.
And also the scrutiny, the rules were it was a smaller ecosystem, so like there wasn't as much.
No, now with what I was about to say is with our practice of the data, the analytics and all that, that goes into that from a legal compliance standpoint with all the regulatory items out there around consumer protection and all
Exactly.
that. We have to be absolutely buttoned up about how we get the data, how we treat the data, how we store it, and all that stuff. And I think for us, that's kind of been the biggest thing we've involved over the last decade or so, is how we are now more sophisticated than ever and how we treat that stuff. And how we use it, because people like you and the rest of the media team are really at the state of the art and how we can focus our
the benefits.
Yeah,
it's always like the push and pull between us being like, these are the benefits, and you being like, okay, but here is all the things going on, and like what
legal
would be like
repercussions.
the most like the safest thing to do, and then it's us stewarding and presenting our options to the clients, and then it's kind of like, because often the playbooks are only so written on some of this stuff sometimes.
No, we're definitely at the state of from the legal end too, in terms of how to comply with these new laws evolving. But I think three of us definitely, once we can explain to clients how we do it, what precautions we take, and people understand that we know what we're doing, both from a legal compliance standpoint and also from an operational execution standpoint, I think it's a home run to slam dunk.
I think some of the lesser known, strongest performers at Vayner are actually in our legal department. We recently got a client compliment saying that they've never seen an agency where legal and creative and media can work so in harmony. We send a lot of proactive POVs on things like emerging social media legislation that Mark's team puts together. And I think our approach to media buying in bulk is so differentiated from most other media agencies we compete against.
The transparency factor and the standing up clients to own their own data, they can port it across. We'll share ad accounts with other ad shops for view only. Like, it's something that is not reciprocated often.
I think from the legal end, we're so in the weeds, and we're so hands-on. We know what we're doing and what you guys are doing, that we can advise you all legally because we understand it, because we live it. Not knocking other legal departments out there, but not every legal department is really as intertwined with the business that we are.
Right.
So that's why we get those compliments that really mean a lot to us.
Yeah.
Practitioner life.
Yes.
All right. That was a good talk, guys.